Good afternoon and welcome to the DoWEA Closeout Reporting webinar. Today we will be going over the closeout reporting process and providing an overview of the updated form on the Evaluation Technical Assistance Center portal. Uh, sorry. I'm Sean Grove, Program Manager for the ETAC, and I am joined by my colleague Sarah Brightwell, who is the Deputy Program Manager and Lead TA Specialist. We're excited to be here to demonstrate the closeout reporting system. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce JDP from the DoWEA Program Office. JDP?
Hey, Sean, thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us today. So, as we are all here to listen to and learn from this closeout webinar, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the extraordinary journey each of you have been on since your FY21 awards. FY21 is a very special year for us, especially me in the program office. If you bear with me for a moment. FY21 was kind of the first year that Christy Lynn was with our program and really spearheaded our monitoring efforts. And this year also was so important because you launched your projects during one of the most disruptive periods in probably what's known as modern education, navigating COVID, shifting learning environments, staffing challenges, constant uncertainty. And despite all that, all of you have continued to show up for your students, for your staffs, for each other through our COPs, and adapt your approaches and really pushed your work forward in meaningful ways. And for that, I say thank you. What you all have accomplished is not just about completing or closing out your grant requirements. It really is reflective of the resilience and the innovation and a deep commitment to supporting military connected students and their peers during a time when they all needed the most. So, to all 41 of you, 41 districts that were awarded, I want to tell you that this webinar really is here to support you through the final steps and to ensure a very smooth and successful closeout. But I also wanted to take the time to acknowledge the lasting impact of your work and the capacity you have built within your systems during this FY21 grant cycle. So thanks again, and I will hand it back off to our partners at ETAG and for Sarah to facilitate us through this closeout process.
Oops, going over the agenda. So we're going to first go over the reporting components, and then we'll walk you through the reporting form. And that will be a live demo of the ETAC portal. Then we'll wrap up with reminders and resources to help you in your closeout reporting. Take it away, Sarah.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I know everybody's favorite time of year is reporting season, but know that we've put together this webinar and a number of other resources that we'll share today to make this as easy and pain-free as possible as you complete your reporting and wrap up your grant period. So what we're going to do today is really jump into the site and walk step by step through how on the ETAC portal, you'll be able to complete all of your closeout reporting requirements. Now, I know, at least at this point, to my knowledge, all project directors have an ETAC account. But if for any reason you or anyone on your team that you need to have access don't already, please reach out to us at the help desk. Typically in 24 hours or less, we can get them access to the ETAC site so that you can get to everything you need to complete your closeout reporting. So as we think about those people, I want to talk about the different roles and just a reminder because things did change when we rolled out the new website. So a reminder that you as the project director are the one who have full access to the site and everything in it. That means that you have the primary responsibility for completing the closeout reporting and all closeout requirements. Now, you're going to be, of course, getting help from your team. So whoever your finance person is or your financial contact, you're definitely going to need their assistance as you're completing the financial portions of reporting. Remember that they can see the report that you're doing, the closeout report, but they cannot actually make any edits. Now, in the finance reporting, where that SF425, the SF428 are, not only can they see, they can edit there. So they can actually go in and complete the forms. So if that's the relationship that you have, that they complete the forms and you review and y'all then choose to submit, that's fine. Or if the relationship is maybe they provide you with the data and then you go in and complete the forms and submit, either way is fine. Just know you both would have that appropriate access. Then your evaluator is another key team member that you'll be collaborating with in order to complete your closeout reporting and that final evaluation narrative. They have view-only access within the system. So again, they'll be able to see the closeout report and see anything in there, but they're not actually able to edit or enter information or upload that final evaluation narrative. You as the project director will be the one responsible for ensuring that gets uploaded and submitted. And then any other team members that you have that have eTech portal access, remember they all have view-only access, which a lot of times can be really helpful if you want to collaborate together, or maybe you want one of your other team members to take a look through and just check out, hey, does this look okay? Do you see anything that I might need to tweak? They can see everything. They just can't make actual edits in the system. Then as we think about the actual process of reporting, what does everybody's role look like there? Don't become overwhelmed by the fact that your project director column may be a bit longer than your other team members' columns, because some of these things are just making sure that things actually get uploaded and submitted. So let's look at project director first. You're responsible for completing that closeout reporting form that we're going to walk through today, as well as working with your evaluator to ensure the final evaluation narrative is complete and really tells the complete story of your program over the last 5 years. And then it's your responsibility, this is kind of the key part, to actually upload it into that reporting form and get it submitted. The next two are your financial reporting forms. So the SF425 that everyone must complete, and the SF428, which is only applicable to some of our grantees, making sure that those get completed and submitted within the system. And then coordinating with finance to make sure that your final invoice is submitted through WAF. Remembering all invoicing goes through the WAF system. All your reporting goes through the eTech system. And then finally, remember that you are responsible as a federal grantee for retaining all your records for at least 3 years from the end of the period of performance. So really think about, as you're wrapping up, depending upon what might be happening with your program, how you can ensure that all of your program records are maintained for the next 3 years. Your finance person, their primary job is to collaborate with you on those 2 financial forms, definitely the 425, and depending upon your program, the 428. And your evaluator has the big job of collaborating with you on that final evaluation narrative and developing that final evaluation narrative. This closeout report serves as the culmination of your entire project and your entire reporting journey. So you'll notice in this final year, you are not submitting a spring semester report because you're completing a closeout report right now. All of the things that you did this spring, though, still matter or are important, and we want to hear about them. You're going to include those in the closeout reporting form. And I'll show you exactly how to do that as we walk through the form. But just know, we're not throwing out all the work you've done this spring. That's all included in your closeout report. And when you see stuff coming out over the coming weeks about do your spring semester report, that does not apply to you. Additionally, you, of course, don't have to complete an annual report in year 5 because, again, your closeout report sums all of that up. As we think about what's included in your reports, you'll notice that in your semester report, a lot of times there's a bigger focus on the activities that you do each semester, the challenges that you encounter in your professional learning. Whereas when we get into the annual reporting, we start looking at that bigger picture of your strategies and your outcomes. Well, in your closeout, we really encompass both because we're looking across all 5 years and dragging in that bit of spring that doesn't get anywhere else. So you're going to be including your strategies and your outcomes, but also your spring activities and professional learning. Some just helpful tips as we think about the reporting. I know we go over these each reporting cycle, but I promise they're important and really help ensure that you have a really solid report that you're submitting. One is to start early. This report is technically not due. The final deadline is not until September 30th. Don't wait until then. Have yourself a nice, relaxing summer. Wrap up this report, get it submitted, and move on with your other activities that you have for the summer, for the new school year. You don't want this looming over you as you're on the beach this summer. No one wants to be in flip-flops on the sand thinking about their closeout report. So let's go ahead and get it knocked out and done. Write and complete sentences. This really pertains primarily to that closeout reporting form. When you write and complete sentences, when you actually spell out your acronyms, it makes it so much easier for all of us who are reading your report to know exactly what you're talking about. And it removes that ambiguity. It ensures that we're hearing the story that you want to tell us. Also, we have a basic kind of spell check within the reporting form, but particularly for those longer narrative questions, I really encourage you to always write those in your word processor so that it can spell check, grammar check it for you, and then you can just copy and paste it right into the form. And then the final bits are really thinking about, make sure that as you're writing, don't just think about JDP or Christy or Jen. Think about the larger audience for your report who may not be as intimately familiar with your project as the DoWEA team is. So really make sure that you're giving the full context, be really transparent about your project, and tell everyone all the amazing things you've done over the last 5 years, particularly those early years that might have been a little more interesting and challenging than for the typical grantee. And then just slide in there one more time. Don't wait to submit on the last day. This is the last bit to remain in compliance with this grant and to set you up to be in a good spot to apply for and receive future grants. So don't let this sneak up on you right there at the end. You can submit it anytime from now through September 30th. So you can wrap it up and get it on its way. Also remember that you can save in bits and pieces. So don't feel like you have to go in there and knock this all out in one sitting. You can go in there, be working on the form as your evaluator may be working on the final evaluation narrative, and then come feed that in. It will save as you go, so you can do it incrementally. Now, before we hop directly into the closeout reporting form, I want to talk about two really important pieces. One being the financial reports, because that's something that you normally have to get some outside help with. Start thinking now about completing that SF-425 and any information that you may need to get from the financial office or having them complete it, because every one of you has to complete and submit the SF-425 for your closeout report to be complete. It will not let you hit the submit button anymore. I know on the old system, it was kind of separate, and so you could do that. In this new system, you will not be able to submit your closeout report unless that SF-425 is in there. The SF-428 is only for those grantees who have equipment expenditures. So if you do not have equipment expenditures, ignore the SF-428. That's not something for you. But if you do have equipment expenditures, remember that you must complete that SF-428, and that also must be uploaded into the system in order for your closeout report to be considered complete. The other piece is your final evaluation narrative, because this is the other piece that you really have to involve another team member, your evaluator. By popular demand, we have included a lot more information about what we're looking for in the final evaluation narrative, what makes a strong evaluation narrative. So some basic requirements, we have now implemented a cover page template just to make sure that we're getting the information we need on that cover page to make it really easy to match up that narrative with the appropriate grantee and report. So you'll be able to download that and then use it as the first page of your final evaluation narrative. That'll be the same across all grantees, just with your information inputted. I will also send that out to you tomorrow when I send out your recording. So you'll get the recording, you'll get the cover page template, you'll get the step-by-step written guide, all the different resources and tools I will send to you tomorrow via email as a wonderful gift for attending the webinar. And it'll also be available online for any of your friend grantees who might not have been able to make it live. We also upped the page limit. So the page limit now for the final evaluation narrative is 20 pages. Doesn't mean that you have to use all 20 pages. If your story is adequately told in 18 pages, totally fine, but we've upped that to a 20-page limit. The cover page and the appendices do not count toward that page limit. So just keep that in mind as well. But you will submit everything as one PDF. So previously, sometimes we were getting everything as one document. Sometimes it was the evaluation narrative, and then here were the appendices. We're now asking that everything be included as one PDF document. It just makes it a lot easier to make sure that when your final evaluation narrative is being read and reviewed, that we're looking at the whole piece that you've submitted and have everything easily accessible. And then the final just basic requirements are a 12-point Times New Roman font and 1-inch margins. Now, as far as within it, we have a little bit better guidance now, as far as in a nice written format about what exactly it looks like within the content of the form. So these are the basic components that we would like to see within your final evaluation narrative. Not that you can't include some additional information beyond that, but just know that in particular, this is what we are looking for. Now, this is just the basic listing. I'll show you as we go through the actual reporting form, how you can check out the actual details. We'll kind of walk through what each of these mean, but just to know that we have kind of bulked that out to make it a little easier for everyone to understand what's being looked for. And then finally, before we jump into the nitty-gritty of the actual reporting form, just a nice big reminder, if you need to take a picture just to remind yourself, but this report must, at minimum, be submitted by Wednesday, September 30th at 11:59 Eastern time, not your time zone, Eastern time. But you're all going to submit before then so you can have a relaxing summer. And then the period of performance as you're looking at what you're reporting on is that September 30th, 2021 to May 31st, 2026. So you're going to be encompassing that entire time period in the information that you're sharing. All right, so let's jump into the reporting form. If you have done the previous reporting, you back in January did your fall semester report, you're going to go in the exact same way. What's going to look different is that now, instead of just having profiles, semester reports, and financial reports, you're now going to see a button for closeout reports. If you want to follow along, you are more than welcome to, if that's something that's helpful to you. But also know, again, I'm going to send out the recording tomorrow, so you can also always play this later right next to it to follow along as you're doing it too. All right, I am going to quickly switch us over to the actual screen here. Let's go. And then just double checking. Is everyone able to see this new one? Okay. All right. So as we move over, I do want to just hit the couple of questions that we've had in the chat. Please clarify who writes the narrative, project director or evaluator. So the final evaluation narrative should be written by the evaluator, but it definitely should be a collaborative process between the project director and the evaluator to ensure that that final evaluation narrative really reflects the story of your program and feels correct and accurate to all parties, but it should be written by the evaluator. Include only the final evaluation narrative should include the full period of performance. So that's September 30th, 2021 to May 31st, 2026. So rather than being kind of how you've done it in previous years, like an annual evaluation narrative, this is a full 5 years. You're reflecting on the entire grant. And then let's see, these evaluation components are pretty different from what has been required of evaluators in the past, and our team has been structuring reports and completed substantial work around those requirements. Is there flexibility to accept reports that align with historical norms and that has already been invoiced for? So I'm going to actually throw that one to the DoWEA team if they have any input, because that's going to be more up to them than I.
Can you restate the question, Sarah?
Yeah, basically, one of the individuals is asking if they've already created a report based on the previous closeout guidance, and this structure for the new report is rather different. Is there flexibility around them submitting a report that more aligns with the previous requirements
I,
since
I,
that's already been invoiced for?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to ask that person specifically, what are the previous requirements? We have had nothing has changed from our grant reporting and invoicing timeline. Nothing has changed from the terms and conditions. Nothing had, if anything, FY21 would have created the standard. So I guess I'm a little confused by what the previous guidance was, vice what they are hearing today, what would be different? So I'm gonna have to ask that person to maybe email either Dr. Jen Christie or myself, whomever their monitoring specialist is, to find out what specific guidance they would be referring to.
Yeah, and I would also encourage maybe look as we're getting into that part of the form, and it may not be as different as you think. It may just be that it's a bit more spelled out now. So maybe kind of wait till we get to that part, and then that'll give you a better idea of what you may want to ask to your monitoring specialist. All right, so that's all that I see right now in the chat, but I'll keep an eye, particularly as we're going through the reporting form, as well as we are a small group. If you have a question as we're going through this form, you are always welcome to also unmute and ask. Whatever you're more comfortable with is fine with me. All right, so this is what your screen will likely look like. You're just going to hit open on the closeout reports. Now, here's the piece that's going to look a little different for me than for you, is that as we're going through, you're going to notice I have a bunch of grantees only because I can access all of you. You're just going to see yourself. So I'm going to just come to my little piece right here. And if you have clicked already, then it's going to have a little report that you can hit view. And that's how you'll be able to go in and actually work on your report. If you have not gone in and clicked before, there's going to be a small button right here that says add new, and you'll be able to start fresh from there. So just depending upon if you've come in here at all before this, you'll either have the little add here or the view here. Once you're in the report, this is what it's going to look like for everyone. Particularly on this report homepage, there's a lot of directions on the first page because a lot of them are just telling you how the report form actually works. Okay. So remember, if you did the fall semester report for your grant, this form works exactly the same. It asks a few different questions, but the actual functionality of the form is exactly the same. So if that went well for you, this should too. The big reminder being when you're going back and forth, please do so either via this left-hand menu or the next and back buttons at the bottom. If you use the ones in your browser, you could potentially lose some of the information that you've entered into the form. So just make sure that when you're navigating, use that left-hand bar to go page to page or the next and back buttons that appear at the bottom. Nobody likes to lose data. So on this first page, you're just going to see a little basic information about your program. If any of your contacts have changed, you can hit this edit contact button, and that will allow you to submit new information there. If any of the information under target schools or target school enrollment seems incorrect, you'll need to reach out to the help desk, as that is not something that is editable, because that's just basic information that comes from your proposal. The only thing that you must do on this page, though, is update your goal status. So you may have anywhere from 1 to 3 goals here. And the one required piece on Report Home is that you update your grant status. So you'll click onto that update. You'll get a pop-up box. And you can select, has that goal been fully implemented, partially implemented, or not implemented? Now I'm going to select fully because it's a closeout. Most of yours are going to probably be fully. There may be some, depending upon circumstances, that would be partially. And then we have this additional context box. This is not a required box, but it is your opportunity that if maybe you do need to select partially because you weren't able to fully implement that goal, that you can provide narrative here. You can write a few sentences to explain why you're selecting partially versus fully. So it's that opportunity to give that additional information if you would like. If this box is not large enough, there's always, you see little dashes there. They're quite small, but if you see the little dashes, you can drag this box out just as long as you may need, whatever you need to be able to write. Then you'll hit save, and you'll see it is now updated my goals. So that's the only thing you have to do on this report homepage. Then you can either hit next or use that left-hand bar. I'm going to hit next. And that's going to take us into our strategies section. Now, because we were moving from one reporting system to another reporting system, all of your outcomes and strategies and things did not just miraculously move into the new form. So they were moved based on your last reporting. So if anything seems a little off in your strategies or in your outcomes as we're going through and as you're looking at your reporting form, please let us know at the help desk so we can assist you with making any needed changes, as those are not things that are going to be super easy for you to change. The strategies you have access to, but the outcomes are not as easy for you to get to. So with the strategies, if you had existing strategies in, they will already be listed. But if you need to add a new one, or if you do not have any listed, then you will come here to this add new strategy. It brings up this form. You're able to select which grant goal that strategy goes with. If you have a strategy that applies, if you're like this and you have 2 grant goals and you have a strategy that you feel applies to both, you will need to add it separately to both, because most likely it's at least a little bit different. because it may be that you have two literacy goals, but maybe one is an elementary literacy goal and one is a secondary literacy goal. There's going to be some type of difference. So you do enter your strategies by goal. So I'm going to say it's going here with my first goal. I'm going to put in my strategy name and description. Strategy name is going to be brief. Strategy description is going to be what you write in sentences and give a full description of that strategy. Then you're going to select the strategy category. You can see there's a number of pre-filled options to select from. You're just selecting one because this is the primary category. It's possible that you're looking at your strategy and thinking, well, it's a little of this and a little of that. It could fit in both. The key is to think about which one, though, was most integral to that strategy, because you're just going to pick one primary category. You're going to select whatever that might be. If you're looking at it and one of those categories just doesn't match, it just doesn't fit, it is okay to then select other and fill in your own category here. And then this little piece, highlight any successes of this strategy during the reporting period, if applicable. So this is an optional box. All the rest of the boxes are required. This one is optional, that if there was a particular success in relationship to this strategy that you'd like to share as part of your report, this is the spot to do it. And this is another one of those little draggable boxes. So depending upon what you might be sharing, you may need a little more space. And then the final piece is the strategy status. So were you able to fully implement this strategy, partially, or not? Likely at this point in a closeout report, you would not be adding a strategy into a goal if it was not implemented. So almost with certainty can say all of your strategies should be fully or partially if you're adding it into this report. Then you hit Save Strategy, and you'll see now it's been added right here into my report. Now, if you're just editing an existing one, you can hit Edit, and it basically just opens up that same existing form so that you can make any adjustments that you might need to make. It's possible that for existing strategies, the only change you may need to make is to the status. And that's fine. You can update the status and just hit update, and you'll see now that change has been made here. And the other key here is that we are asking for the 3 most impactful strategies per goal. As much as we want to hear the entire full, complete story of your program, we also want to make sure that we're getting the highlight reel to a certain extent. So instead of listing 15 strategies per goal, we really want to hone in on the 3 most impactful strategies per goal that you have. So if you have only one goal on your grant, you will not be reporting any more than 3 strategies. Now, if you only have 2 strategies, that's fine. That's completely up to you. But please limit yourself, and the form will do it for you, to just 3 strategies per goal that you have in your grant. The final piece of the strategies page is there is a little question here at the bottom about any project partners you were involved with this year. Okay, so this is specific to this year. So you're going to pop that here, our partners, hit save, make sure it's still appearing, and this page is complete. Now, you'll notice as we go through each reporting screen that it's going to potentially be asking about data from different time periods because you're going to be reporting on different things. So for strategies, look up here in your directions and note that you're reporting on the full grant year. So we're asking solely about year 5. And that's all you're going to be reporting on. Look for that on each page to help make sure that you're keeping the appropriate frame of reference for that particular set of questions. Right, you'll notice now that we're on the second screen, we have both a previous and next. So I'm going to head to next to our outcome metrics. So again, with this one, your outcomes were filled from previous reporting. So if you see something here that you're like, that's not quite right, just let us know at the help desk and we can help you make those corrections. That's not something you're going to be able to change yourself in the reporting system. What you're reporting on are the outcome metrics. So the actual measurements that relate to those outcomes. So again, you may have some existing, or you may be starting from scratch depending upon your specific grant and previous reporting. So as we're here, if it's something where I'm going to add a new one, you can see I have an add new specific to goal 1, or an add new specific to goal 2. So you want to make sure that you're adding to whichever is the appropriate one. So I'm going to add new. I can put in my specific metric right here. Select whether it's a qualitative metric or a quantitative, either completely fine. What tool did I use to collect data? So this was qualitative and it was a family survey, putting that in, and then provide the baseline number or percentage for this outcome metric. So whatever the baseline was for this particular metric, we're going to put here. And then this current reporting year. So specific to this year 5, what is my metric here? And then the last question is optional. This is again kind of any other information. So if it was a family survey and you have this really great quote that you really want to share that this particular family put into their survey that you think is so illuminating, pop it in there. That's what this little box is for. It's another one that does open and close, so you have lots of option there. So we'll put our fabulous quote in here that we want to share with everyone and then hit save. No. Helps if and you will get these little pieces if it's not allowing your answer. And it's going to do that in any screen. So I'm going to put my responses in, save. There we go. And now you should see that right here, my new metric, my family survey. Now, if it's an existing, very similar process, except you're just going to hit update. And you'll be able to go in, and a lot of times it may be that you maybe are using a slightly different instrument, or at minimum that you're putting in this current year's metric information. So let's say I'm gonna save that, and then you'll see it got updated here. Okay. And again, it reminds you up in the directions that this is for the full grant year, October 1st to May 31st of this grant year. So you'll do that for any goals that you have and then hit next. Before we start with activities, any questions so far on report home strategies or outcome metrics? And know that When you start doing this, you may think of questions. Just remember, we don't disappear after the webinar. We are always around at the help desk. So as you get into this reporting form and you think, oh, I have a little question, we're always around at the help desk, and then we'll be having different office hours that we'll give you the dates to in a bit, all throughout the season. So you have lots of opportunities to be able to hop on and ask questions and get assistance. Never
Sarah?
feel alone in the reporting.
Sorry, Sarah, it's
Yeah.
Georgia up here in Fairbanks. I just want to make sure I'm
Yeah.
totally clear. But when you say you
Yep.
mean my evaluator or you mean me?
As far as being able to ask questions,
No, but as far as filling out this report you're showing us right now, this closeout report.
so you'll be the one actually filling it out because you're the only one with edit access.
Right.
But you can absolutely work collaboratively with your evaluator on putting together the information that will go into the form. But you're the only one who has the actual edit access.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Love the hat, by the way. All right, then we're going to jump into activities. So this is thinking about, okay, we're going to jump into our activities. What activities have I not reported? Well, you're not doing a spring semester report, so you haven't been able to report on your activities from this spring semester. This is your opportunity to do so because we want to make sure that you're able to put in stuff about your entire grant period. So you're going to come down and hit Add New Activity. You can put in your activity name. That's usually your short name, like if you were just going to refer to it. And then your activity description. This is the part that you would write in sentences describing what you're doing. What goal does it apply to? Remembering each activity is going to be specific to one goal. If you have a similar activity that then applies to your other goal, add that. That's fine. What strategy does it apply to? Any of those strategies that you have from that strategy screen will appear here. And then populations reached by the activity. You can select as many as are applicable. If you hit any of the others, it will ask you to specify. And then you'll put in your estimated number reached. So approximately how many of those participants you checked off did you reach with that activity? What data source are you using to measure effectiveness? So maybe this is what I used my family survey with. And then indicate the status of this activity. And you'll select. For most of your activities, you will likely be selecting completed. But again, depending upon what it is, there are always exceptions. And then the last question is an optional question. It's again, any particular successes. So if you had a really great success with this activity, you can share that story or tidbit here in a nicely telescoping box. When you hit save, it will pop it right up here. So you can put in. Again, this is the 3 most impactful activities. So you may have done 15 amazing things this spring, but here you're going to be reporting the 3 that were most impactful to your goal completion and to your project. The last question here, briefly in 1 sentence, state the greatest project success during this reporting period. So write 1 really great sentence that sums up the greatest project success you had during this spring. Because this is the bit where you get to talk about spring since you're not doing a specific spring semester report. You'll hit save and your activities are complete and you're able to hit next. One note, while you can do up to 3 here, grand total 3, you can also do 1 or 2, depending upon what you had going on this spring. But 3 is just the max amount. Professional learning. So professional learning, I'm going to get it where you can see both pieces of this screen here. So with the professional learning, you can actually roll over bits of professional learning from your fall semester report. So if on your fall semester report, you were doing this XYZ conference and you did it again this spring, and that was one of your most impactful things, you can roll that over and just update the participation info. So I'm going to show you that first, and then I'll show you alternatively how you can enter a new professional learning. So if you had something that went on this fall and you want to roll it over and indicate it was also one of the most impactful this spring, you're going to come down. You can see professional learning, other reporting cycles. I'm going to find my XYZ conference and I'm going to clone it. And then it's going to say, do you really want to do that? Yes, I really want to do that. And now it's going to have it here for me. Now, if I want to keep it as XYZ conference, because that's the appropriate name, you can just delete the little copy piece. It's going to pre-fill with the information that you submitted from the fall semester report. But maybe you want to change your description a little based on something that has happened with it this semester. So you put that here. Maybe you were only doing administrators before, but maybe this spring you branched it out to teachers so you can update those participants. You can update any of this that might be applicable. The one piece it's going to force you to update is the number of people participating. That's the one piece that it blacks out. So it removes what you put from the fall because the assumption is it's not going to be the same number in the spring. So that will have to be completed. The rest of it, if it's exactly the same, you're able to just check, make sure that it looks correct and keep. But this part, you are going to have to put in the number of participants. And then go down and kind of just check, make sure. You can see, okay, before there wasn't any extra info that I wanted to share. It was not applicable, but maybe now I have something to share. You can update any of this information, then hit save. And it's going to put it up here in your current pieces. Okay. Now it is your 3 most impactful. So be cognizant of that when you're choosing what to roll over versus what you're going to add new. Again, it doesn't have to be 3, but 3 is your maximum. Now, if you're adding a totally new one, I'm going to delete one so I have room because I already maxed out my 3, so it took away my add new button. So if you have only 2 there, then you can actually add a whole new one, as well as go back in and edit any of the ones that you had already done. So even if you move something over and decide, that's not really, I changed my mind, I want to do something different. Any of this is editable right up until submission. So you can change any of that information. You can delete one, clone one, add a new one, right up until you're ready to be done there. I'm not going to change any more of those. So you can see the little add new versus edit versus clone. Now, the only other piece that is on this are the 2 narrative questions down at the bottom. How were the impacts of professional learning monitored throughout the reporting period? And then any innovative solutions that were implemented to address professional learning challenges this reporting period. And remember, this is really thinking about the professional learning from this spring. If there's nothing, Maybe you didn't have any spring challenges. You're like, I'm at the end of my 5 years. Things are going so smoothly. It's fine to put not applicable, but you will need to put something there so that we know you actually address the question and it doesn't leave it blank. So just know that you can always pop that in and hit save and then go to the next. That takes us to closeout questions. So I'm going to pause just right quick and make sure any questions as we're in this portion. Activities, professional learning. All right. So this takes us to the part that's a little bit different from previous reporting, both from the previous closeout reporting styles as well as previous fall semester reporting that you just completed, is that you will be completing a few closeout questions. They are narrative questions. I would highly encourage writing your responses in like Word so you can spell and grammar check and then copy and paste it in. But as you're looking down, you're going to see just a couple of questions to answer. You can put not applicable if one of them is not applicable, but otherwise they do all require response. So the first, what was the greatest project success over the life of your grant? So as you're sitting here with a warm heart, looking back over your last 5 years of amazing grant program activities and all the things that you've been able to do, what do you consider the greatest project success? And tell us about it. And then what were the most significant outcomes or impacts achieved over the life of the grant? So what were those really big outcomes that you would shout from the roof, we were able to accomplish this over the last 5 years? So while you could put not applicable, I would definitely encourage, I think 1 and 2, you should have something for. Now for 3 and 4, this may be where you have a not applicable. One being, what lessons learned or advice would you share with other grantees or future cohorts? Really think about if you were going to sit down with a brand new grantee who just got their notice of award, what advice would you give them? You are now the seasoned pro. What tidbits would you give to them? Because this could be really helpful, particularly as we think about how we onboard new grantees. And then number 4, do you have any comments for the DoWEA program for future improvement? And you can put in there, ideas for things that would be useful for the DoWEA program team, for the ETAC support team. Any ideas that you have that can help us grow are always welcome. Those are your closeout questions. You're just going to pop your narrative responses in. Make sure to hit save at the bottom so that you get this beautiful green save successfully box. And you can save these over and over. So as you ruminate on them and maybe add to them, you can hit save as many times as you need before going to the next. This is that final evaluation narrative piece. Everything we talked about is here in those directions, but it does give additional context to each of those components. I'm not going to read it to you because you are all literate and able to really read through this on your own time and think about any questions that you might have. But that's what I really encourage you to do, is you as the project director and your evaluator, or depending upon who you are on, you as the evaluator, get in here and really read through these over the next few days and think about any questions that you might have. Reach out to your monitoring specialist, reach out to the help desk, and let us know any questions that you have as you think about how you're going to address each of these 8 components. Of course, one of those being the appendices. Remember that that's all going to be included within that 20-page limit PDF that you would submit here. I think you'll find a lot of it are the things that you were including in your evaluation reports before, but maybe asking you to set it up a little different so that all the reports just are a little more similar and easy to read. It might be things that you were including in your closeout reporting form And we're asking you to make sure in that final evaluation narrative as well. And hopefully just providing some of that additional guidance that had really been requested in previous years to make completion of the narrative a little easier for everybody. Once you have that PDF together and your evaluator feels like it's in a good spot, you as the project director feel like it's in a good spot, you just come down here, hit choose file. It will pop up all the different options for you so that you can upload your file here. And actually, I'm going to upload a file just so you can see what you're looking for to make sure. We will grab a PDF here. Goodness. Now my computer's going to go very, very, very slow. So we're going to put, we've got our PDF here. It's going to put it into this box here. If you don't see it here, it's not here. So that's the part that's always key. If you don't see it on the screen, it does not exist. So make sure that it is there. And please name it with the name of your grantee. It makes life much easier. Now you do have narrative notes, so you do have a spot where you can put any additional information that you need or want to include. You have that little tidbit here, but please make sure it shows up on the screen. That means you've uploaded it, and please name it something with the name of your grant. Then you're going to go to the next. This is your document list. So just like in any other reporting cycle, you can upload as many additional documents as you would like. So if you have photos, if you have news articles, if you have just a million other things, not the appendices, because remember the appendices to your narrative should be part of your PDF that you upload as your final evaluation narrative. But if you just have other pieces of information you want to share as part of your report, this is where that goes. With this, there is not a limit on file type. So you can upload a PDF, you can upload a Word document, you can upload an image, whatever you would like, and you can upload multiple documents. So this gives you more options because this is optional and additional. But it's the same process as far as adding the document. You're able to choose the file, upload it, and it has the same option for some notes here. You are not required to upload additional documents, but that is there for you. Now, the final bit, this is the part that we at least internally are very excited about, is that everything is going to check and balance here. So if you have not completed your SF425 or your SF428, then this is going to not only remind you, but require you. So you can see that my fake grantee, I haven't done my SF425 because it says SF425 for this reporting period, and there's nothing here. So that means that I need to hit new SF425, and it actually takes me over to the SF425 form to complete it. Okay. Ensuring that I have completed all required components for my report. Now, I'm just going to quickly go through and complete this because I want you to see, once I do that, what it's going to look like in there. So you saw what it looked like when it was not complete. Now you'll see what it looks like when it is. You will actually have information in here. I'm just doing this quickly so that you can see what it will look like when things are fully complete. All right, so it's saying I'm in here. So I'm going to go back. I'm hoping it will notice I may have to refresh. I want you to be able to see what that actually looks like. There we go. So you see, I just went back to the other screen and back, and that refreshes it. And now you can see, well, looky here. I have my SF425, but oh no, I thought my finance person had fully submitted it. This says draft. Well, I can hit edit and go in and actually submit it myself as project director if it's complete, or it at least alerts me, hey, I need to call Sally Sue in the finance office and get her to complete this because I can't submit my closeout report. So just know that has now been built in. And then it's going to ask, does this award include tangible personal property, which is a fancy word for equipment that needs to be reported? Yes or no? So right now it's toggled to no, so you don't see anything else. But yes, I did have equipment. Oh, and I've angered it. Let's see. What happened there? Well, I'm going to tell you what it will do because it seems that I'm having a small technical issue. So when you hit yes, it's going to put up the exact same box like this, but for the 428, so that you have the same ability there to complete it, check and make sure that it's been completed, and check that bit. Make sure though that you really think through, did I have equipment or not? Because if you mark yes, it's not going to let you submit your closeout report without that 428. So just really make sure to check whether you truly have equipment or not, and whether you're going to then be required to submit that 428. Once you have all those different pieces of your closeout report completed, you've checked it, double checked it, you feel good, you've uploaded that final evaluation narrative, you've got your financial form and or forms in, so you're ready to submit. All you have to do is hit submit report. It will give you a green report submitted, and you're golden. The other thing you can do, because if you're like me, maybe you get a little paranoid about making sure that your report is submitted, you can always just go back out to your report list and check that it shows as submitted versus draft. That's just a little something extra I like to do at the end to double, triple check that my report actually is showing as submitted. That takes us through the entire report form. I don't see any questions in the chat, but do we have any questions right now? I know it's a lot of information all at once. So I'm going to let you kind of steep in that as I switch us back to our PowerPoint screen to go over a few other resources and pieces as we wrap. And I think we'll be able to even give you a little of your time back in your day, which is never a bad thing. There we go. All right, so I don't see any questions in the chat right now. So I'm going to assume that we're all just percolating on the different things that we need to complete for the closeout report. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Sean to share just a few of the resources that we have available to continue to help you this reporting season. And I'll see you on our next reporting time.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Um, So we have several resources to support you during the closeout reporting. You can contact us through the help desk Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can contact the help desk via email at support@dodeagrants.org, via phone at 888-600-ETAC, which is 3822, or through the contact us page on the ETAC portal. The contact us page has both a support form that will ask a few questions and kind of point in the right direction, and an option for live chat. Note the live chat has a few questions it asks to make sure that we understand what your question is. You can also email the DoWEA program team at dodeagrants@dodea.edu. We also have a number of helpful resources available on the ETAC portal. Once you log in, go to the technical assistance page and you'll find the step-by-step reporting guides and other pertinent items. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, we will be sending this recording as well as a packet of the closeout reporting resources to you via email tomorrow, which will include the guide and other items that Sarah had mentioned. Your region lead can always provide support if you needs that. You can reach out to your region lead. And finally, we'll be holding reporting office hours on May 27th, June 17th, and July 22nd, where ETAC and DoWEA staff will be available to answer any questions you may have regarding the closeout report, or actually any other reports you may be working on at that time, since there is some overlap going on. And then just a final reminder that the closeout reporting due date is September 30th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. But as Sarah has kind of said, we're pretty sure that everyone will be done before then and will be enjoying their summer. So thank you very much for attending the closeout reporting webinar, and we look forward to seeing you at future events.